Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye holahudi sanmiao sanputoshi. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful dharma in hundreds of thousands of millions of eons is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. Venerable Master and Dhamma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. This is the 28th of December. We have a few more days until the year is done. And we're here in Berkeley, California, explaining the Flower Garland Sutra, particularly the 10 Grounds chapter, and inside of that, the 5th ground. 欢迎各位参加我们的这个华严经实地品的佛学讲座现在研究大方广佛华严经实地品的第五地。If you would like to join me, please do. We're going to recite the name of the sutra and the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas who bring it to us. It's in Chinese, down here in the bottom, the cover. 我们现在恭请十方三世一切诸佛法宝就莅临道场僧宝一起来好了，我们就念那个大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨。南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨南。大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨南。大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨南。大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨南无大方佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨。So please turn in your text to page 44 and 45. 44, 45页. Now, because everybody on the women's side has filled up the back first, somebody is going to have to be the traffic cop to get everybody to come forward, because I guarantee people will just keep filling in the floor in the back. They won't come in front of you. So, who wants to do that? Who's going to be our traffic cop to keep shuttling everybody forward? Huh? 没有人了. Oh, okay. Traffic control here in the Buddha Hall. How about that? All right, so happy holidays, and glad everybody has made it. This is the end of the first week of the Amitabha Buddha recitation session up at CTTB, City of 10,000 Buddhas. So a lot of our regular folks will be listening to the Dharma at the City of 10,000 Buddhas, and I'm sure that there's a bright light shining out through the Ukiah Valley tonight, for sure, and beyond. We are on the second large paragraph on page 44. I take it back. Wait. We are not there. We lectured as far as... Let's see. No, we did not get to there. I beg your pardon. So we got to enable one of his 6 powers, 3 uncommon dharmas, as he has determined. Okay, we are on, in the English, it's line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We begin on line 10 in the English, which is 名为发意能行者成就庄严佛度故. Okay, which is in the Chinese, 1, 2, 3, 4, line 4. We finished with the 不共法, the special Buddha dharmas. All right? Okay, I'm going to begin by reading the Chinese, and people are welcome to take a try at the Romanized sounds below the Chinese characters. Here we go. 名为发意能行者成就庄严佛度故名为亲修种种善业者能具足相好故名为常亲修习者求庄严佛身语义故. All right, let's do those 3. And over to the right, I'll give you the line. This is hard to follow. I'll give you the line, you give it back to me. He is called one who is able to practice as he has determined, because he accomplishes the adornment of Buddha lands. He is called one who diligently cultivates all kinds of good karma, because he is able to be endowed with the fine marks and characteristics. He is called one who always diligently practices, because he seeks to adorn the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. All right, good. All right, what's going on here? We are studying the prescription for becoming a bodhisattva. This is our textbook for how one actually goes about changing your body, mouth, and mind from selfish, unawakened human into the body, mouth, and mind, and the words, deeds, and thoughts of an awakened, unselfish human being. It's called becoming a bodhisattva. Big job, challenging, and our bodhisattva is able to do that. That's what this text is all about. That's what our sutra is teaching us. And this is, I want to get into the text before I editorialize, before I interpret, but I just wanted to point out that this is quite a novel, different way to interpret this sutra. Many people take the Avatamsaka Sutra as a philosophical text or a discourse on cosmology, and I think we've established over the years that we've been doing this that there are cosmological elements in the text. It does talk about the universe, but it's much more coming from an awakened human heart, a compassionate human heart. It's a handbook. It's a description of what a bodhisattva would do, how to get past the limitations of our egos and dip into the nature and the wisdom and the pain and the joys that we share in common, not just with all people, but with all living beings. That's really what it's about. So I make that point before we begin because the friends who come and listen to me say these things week after week assume this is how it is, right? This is the Avatamsaka, must be what people explain it as representing. In fact, it's not. It's hard to find an interpretation of the Avatamsaka that finds the humanity in it. And that's really what I think just leaps out at me as I read this text, is this is a human being to the best expression, to the best point. It's those elements that pull me back week after week to look into it and to compare my own body, mouth, and mind, my own actions, words, and thoughts with the mirror that is this text, and see where I fall short and see where I can improve. So that's what I think this is about. So we have friends who are only hearing Chinese, so I thought I would say just a few words in Chinese. I'm not going to translate every word because we've established this as a English language dharma lecture, but I would like to acknowledge the fact that there are some folks who, without benefit of translation, won't understand anything. So let me just say a few words, and then we'll move on. 就说我们这个晚上呢是用英文讲佛经，这是在美国呢就是不会天天遇到的一个现象，就是我们玄公上人，我们创办人呢，他就常常转法轮啊，所以我们就他的法座下的弟子们就愿意继续这样做。不过呢因为今天晚上有一些佛友一些朋友，他们如果不翻译中文呢，就什么都听不到的，听不懂，所以呢还是讲几句就表示我们知道他们在英文还在学习了，不会就一个字一个字来翻译，因为就这个法会呢已经成立了，就英文的翻译，英文为主。不过就讲几句就说一般人呢讲这个大方广佛华严经这部经呢，就一般就解释说这部经呢是佛法里边呢最高的哲学就说讲全宇宙一切众生，不但讲人，讲一切众生，讲这个法界也可以说等于宇宙，讲的它的次序它的成立什么的。那么没有错，华严经也有这个部分。不过呢，我所了解的华严经呢，就是从玄公上人所传下来的这个华严经呢，它是讲什么呢？它讲菩萨道。菩萨呢，菩萨是一个觉悟的人，已经觉悟了。觉悟怎么样觉悟呢？就说不自私。那我们还没有觉悟我们的人呢，我们都认为自己就是这么多了，到我的皮肤呢不会跟其他的人，何况其他的众生有什么关系了那么菩萨呢，他知道呢我们是什么呢？以什么为主？就是所谓同体大悲。同体就是说身体是一样的，一个身体。那么地水火风这个四大而成的一个身体了。那么身体是一个呢，里边的佛性更是一个的。这是华严经的这个基本的原则。结果呢，如果是同体的话呢， 众生受苦呢，菩萨也受苦哈。众生娱乐呢，菩萨也受快乐。他是讲这些不自私的、不自利的菩萨道，这是我所认为的华严经的。所以用这种的看法呢，就不一样了，不一样了。有哲学没有错，有一些最高的、最圆满的道理了。可是呢，每天的华严经这些知识呢，就是等于一面镜子，看自己的脸，看得清楚了啊。那么所有的毛病、所有的习气、所有的短处呢，看得很清楚。同时呢，所有的这个未来的圆满的大智慧、大慈悲也看得清楚。这是我们要介绍的华严经。Okay, that's my bit in Chinese. How did I do? Very okay, good. You like that? Yeah. How do you know? You don't speak Mandarin. Okay, that's good. You're coming along quickly. Let's look at our text tonight. Our Avatamsaka Bodhisattva says, what is he like? We still have these 20 names. First, there were 10 names that the Bodhisattva on the fifth ground is called. Then there was another 10. Usually it's just 10, but now there are 20 names. Why? Because our Bodhisattva is able to enter Samadhi. He is able to, not only when his or her legs are crossed and he's sitting in meditation, but even when he's walking around, she's walking around, she can be in Samadhi and not leave it, not see something, hear something, and then suddenly pop out of Samadhi and get emotional and get upset again. And boy, that's hard. That's really hard to keep the state moving when you meet different circumstances. When you're meditating in the Buddha hall or in the Chan hall, that's not so hard because there's very little stimulation going on around you. There's lots of stimulation inside, but over time you kind of catch on to what's going on in your mind and you don't move as much as you did before. But uncross your legs, go outside the Chan hall, and suddenly, ooh, sights and sounds and smells and tastes and sensations of touch and dharmas to the infinite degree, and the mind moves. So harder to keep it together. Our Bodhisattva on the fifth ground has done that now, already able to, in movement and in stillness, be connected through. Master Hua would say, 动静一如，所以呢就能入定，就入三昧，不动于中。Doesn't move from stillness. Movement and stillness, a single ru, a single flavor, a single texture. That's really difficult. And I guess that's why Samadhi is so valuable and why it's the key to the whole rest of the Bodhisattva path. All of you meditators, you can think of this as like this. The Mahayana, our tradition, the northern tradition, has a big watershed. The watershed is like a ridge where you climb up and you're hard going and you get on the top and then down you go. The other side is easy. That ridge is what? It's between 5 and 6. What do we start with? Giving and precepts. The first 2 paramitas, first 2 perfections. What's next is patience and vigor. The next 2. Then you get to 5, which is Samadhi. And once you master that stillness, what's next? Wisdom. So this particular sutra, when you look into it deeply, you discover that a lot of it is organized around those 6 perfections, those 6 paramita, 6种波罗蜜. This is number 5. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are kind of the foundation. The other half of 5, once it starts to work, and 6 are the fruition of that work. And then once you get to 6, the other 7, 8, 9, 10 are the applications. How you put that all to work in service of your vows, your promises, your compass bearing. So we're at that 5 stage. And the first 4 are hard work. Let's do an analogy. What's it like? It's like you see a vacant lot outside your house. Maybe it's an urban lot. For example, let's take a living example, the city of Detroit. Motown is no town for me. Motown, Motor City, place where I grew up. And the city of Detroit has so many vacant houses now as people flee Detroit because there's no work, there's no stores to get food, there's so much no in Detroit that lots of people have left and their houses are standing vacant. So once the house is vacant, usually it gets stolen from. The copper pipes are all stolen out of the walls, and the cement is stolen out of the front yard. The steps are stolen. And so there's this shell that in order to rebuild it would take as much as it's worth. So what is the city doing? Bulldozing it, turning it back to parkland if you grow trees, cropland if you grow crops, weeds if you just let it go. So oh, by the way, interestingly enough, I saw a fascinating headline. I know I haven't lectured the first line. We'll get there. All right. Trust. Hold in. Don't hold your breath. What is Detroit doing in order to attract people back? Anybody see the headline? They are giving free houses to writers. If you are a writer, a novelist, an essayist, a journalist, a poet, you can get a free house from the city of Detroit. A good house with pipes in the walls, right? You don't have to bring your own pipes. So how about that? Isn't that interesting? I guess they figure that Detroit is a good source of writing material. So excuse me one second. So Detroit is officially inviting writers. I don't know if they're inviting artists. 他们会不会请一些艺术家到 Detroit 去住？有可能，送你一个房子，真的。他们现在你是作家，你证明你是作家 ，Detroit 那个城呢会送你一个房子，因为没人想住那个地方，太烂了啊。So fascinating. All right. So my analogy, right? What is this? The work of step 1 to step 5. What's it like? It's like you suddenly realize there's a vacant lot next to your house. So what do you think? You think, I can already taste the corn and the tomatoes and the peppers and the potatoes. All I have to do is grow them. So what do? You go out to the vacant lot and you take a rototiller, or you actually do it the old-fashioned way and take a hoe and a shovel and a rake and you break up the ground. You're out there and you break up the ground. And when you break up the ground, what you discover is 2x4s and spare tires and broken glass and all kinds of stuff. If it's Detroit, you probably find a lot of syringes and, beer cans and stuff. And you get all that stuff out of there. And you wind up with big chunks of dirt. So that's step 1, and it's hard work. Giving, the first paramita. Second step, you take the big chunks and you break them into small chunks. And you refine it. So you get in there, you chop again. You turn over the ground. Sometimes, if you're vigorous, you do what's called double dig. Right? Double dig is removing the first layer, which is topsoil. And if it's Detroit, Michigan, it's probably good topsoil. And you dig the second layer, which is maybe, 3 feet down. So now you've got 1.5 feet of topsoil, and you dig the second layer. Then you put the original topsoil back. So now you have like 3 feet of tilth, T-I-L-T-H, right? And you chuck in amendments, and that's step number 2, the precept step. Then what do? You do the hard work of planting, watering, weeding, putting a fence around it to keep the cats from using it as a litter box, and to keep the kids from running their bikes and things through it, and maybe you fence it. And with that hard work in steps 1, 2, 3, 4, when you get to step 5 and 6, guess what happens? Crops come up. harvest time. Step 5. That's us now. We're at the harvest point when the crops have broken ground. Okay, and you haven't harvest is 6, wisdom, but you can see them coming up. Okay, so that's where we are. 这个第5步呢是等于已经把那个空地就很辛苦的把它弄成可以长菜、可以成菜铺的一块地，那个很辛苦了。你先把它切开了，然后呢大块变小块，一些垃圾啊、车轮啊、轮胎啊、一些玻璃碎啊什么的拿走了，然后呢你就加一些肥料啊，你就很辛苦的把那个地准备，那是第1、第2步。第3、第4步呢，就说忍辱精进呢，那就是种下一些种子啊，然后呢浇水啊，上肥料啊，把毒草拔出来了，把一个围墙啊，就这样子，慢慢地等啊，让太阳、让水啊，那个肥沃的天呢，就做它这种 magic 啊，然后呢，那么到第5步呢，那个玉蜀黍啊，那些洋芋啊、山豆啊这些出土了，这样子，那是收获的这个地步了。然后呢，真正到能去采吃，那是第6步，那是下一地。我们现在是第5地，那就是说，已经看到那个你种下的菜啊、花呀就出土了，这样子。所以我们到第5步呢，这是定这个禅定波罗蜜。Okay, there we go. Let us look. What did it say? It said, 名为发意能行者，成就庄严佛度故。This bodhisattva has a name, which is one who can practice as he has determined. All right. Funky English. What does it mean? It means you can do what you want. You can actually practice what you preach. Why is that significant? Because from steps 1 to step 4, that's not always true. You might be really vigorous. I am going to not drink alcohol this entire holiday season. Well, how are you going to do on December 31st? You get a chance. Tuesday night. Tuesday night, you get a chance to test. Everybody else is having fun. Here comes the ball. Times Square, slowly. Right? How you doing? Skål. Right? What are you drinking? I am drinking ginger ale. It looks like something else, right? That's good. Near beer, right? Drinking tea. I'm drinking excellent 高山茶. What does that look like? Well, you can fool anybody, right? Sure. So why not? And then, guess what? You get to drive home. Because other people are in no condition to drive home. And you can actually practice the Bodhisattva path by keeping people from running their cars off the road. So, lots of advantages. Next morning, guess what? No hangover, no regrets, none of that empty, cold feeling of, what did I lose last night? When everybody was saying, oh, come on, you Buddhists just all suffering all the time. Lighten up, right? What are they? They're lightening up. Right. So, what's wrong with a glass of wine among friends? Nothing. It's a choice. Nothing's wrong with a glass of wine among friends, unless you have said, wisdom is precious, man. Wisdom is hard work. What's it like? It's like doing all that work in the garden, in the vacant lot outside your writer's house in Detroit, and then when the corn is, just barely sprouting out the ears, ripping it down. Or pouring gasoline on it and lighting it on fire. It makes all the rest of that work seem kind of pointless. So, And, you know, as Master Hua would say, see you next time. We come around so many times. We come around again and again and again. It's nice to plant your feet and say, do something different this time. Really stick your head out of the water. The Chinese say, 苦海无边回头是岸. Right? The ocean of suffering is boundless. But if you want to see clearly to the other shore, just turn your head. Look in a different direction than popularity or being one of the girls or what's wrong with a glass of wine among friends. You know? So it's totally, the scary thing is it's totally up to us. If you do go downstream, nobody cares except you and Shifu and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but they're patient. They'll wait for you to come around again. But if you don't, you'll get flack from those who you are resisting that song. You know, that song that just sounds so cheesy. And it's hard to do that because popularity is at stake. Sometimes your job is at stake. But if you can, the next day, or immediately even, you know. And it's not that the Buddhas come and rub the crown of your head. It's you don't, the next morning, have that empty, cold feeling in the pit of your stomach where you ask yourself, what did I lose last night? It's subtle, but it's hard-earned. Every step is hard-earned. And there's no gala, triumphant bugle blast when you hang on to your precepts. It's not, bum, ba, ba, hero, victory, score. It's not like that. It's like, it's what doesn't happen that makes the difference. And that's so subtle. Wisdom is being able to appreciate the absence of affliction. The problem with the absence of affliction doesn't taste like anything. It's like cabbage boiled in water, right? 开水煮白菜, 淡而无味. That's the flavor of holding the precepts, is not much flavor. But compared to the affliction that we're so familiar with, oh my God, how could I have done that? You know, it's such a flavor. To be able to appreciate the absence of affliction is maturity. That's a mature mind who can look at a situation and go, you know what's missing? Misery. The blues. You know, have a blues-free holiday. One decision at a time to hang on to your precept. Tough. It's tough. It's rare. It's really rare. I had a family dinner on Christmas Eve, and bless their hearts, you know, far be it from me to tell stories on my family, but it was a nice dinner, and my mother ate fish. She doesn't eat meat. But everybody else in my family had the pork and the beef and the, you know, spare ribs and I just look and think, man, it's like, it's fun. That's what you do when the menu, there weren't many choices. There was not a vegetarian entree on the menu. But how many times do you do that in a lifetime? You, at the end of a lifetime, you count them up, and that's the amount of suffering you take part in. And I have to say, not to pat myself on the back for any reason, but mind you, I didn't eat anything at night. I don't. But when I think about that Christmas Eve, I did not participate in any suffering through eating the flesh of something that died to nourish my body. I didn't. Not only that night I didn't, but the night before I didn't, and the night before that I didn't, and the night before that I didn't. And there's an opportunity to look at that and say, an absence of affliction, you know. So every meal that we don't eat somebody else's body, we miss out on that pain. You know, I look and I think, suppose I gave, there's not much there, but suppose I gave that to somebody for dinner. You know, I would miss it. You know, it's like, ah, right? Well, what's the difference? The answer is none. No difference. I'm very attached to my arm, you know, and it didn't become a chicken wing. So that's kind of the insight that you get. And I don't get out much. I live in the monastery, day in and day out. I don't go to Christmas dinner very often, Christmas Eve dinner. But sitting there with the people I care for, people, my own flesh and blood, and watch them saw through that flesh, you know, and you go, man. So our teacher said, my disciples really take a loss when it comes to dinner, to food. They really take a loss when it comes to food. But in the next life, he said, they 占便宜, they get an advantage. Ordinary people get an advantage at the dinner table with the flavor, but they really take a loss in the next life. And that's true. Our diet, I mean, the things I'm saying now, most 99% of the people in the world would say, you're nuts. You didn't eat anything. How can you criticize? You can't criticize them. You didn't eat anything. How did you know? Like, what kind of a model is that? Are we supposed to not eat anything? And no, you're not all monks, you know. But, by golly, it's just when you add it up, dinner after dinner after dinner of, I think I'll have the pork. Oh, what did you have? How was your pork, dear? Oh, the pork was good. No, the pig's body. The exquisitely sensitive pig, you know. Every nerve in place as you sliced his neck and he bled all over the floor for your enjoyment. Your nourishment? No, pork is not particularly good in a human body, but your enjoyment. Anyway, so you get the point. So the Bodhisattva, what does it say? It says, he is called somebody who can do what he wants. Right? It says, 发意能行. When he has the idea, he can do it. She can do it. Karma, that is to say, the pull of habit, does not change this bodhisattva's actual behavior. When it comes right down to what do you put in your mouth, it's like, nah, I don't need that meat. I can do without it. Bless the pig who didn't die for my dinner. How is the pork, honey? Tender. So, hard to do, because karma will pull us back. It's amazing. You know, you find yourself in a situation where to not order meat off the menu makes the host very uncomfortable. What if you want to be a vegetarian and you're at somebody's dinner party and there's no choice? How do you negotiate that one? You're going to offend them? Say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a vegetarian. But I put so much work into it. You know. Ooh. Wowee. That's really hard. That's really, really hard. So, there is a, we could actually probably start a crash course in strategies for vegetarians at dinner parties, right? Vegetarian strategies for coming home for the holidays. You know? I'm not very good at it. When I came home as a sophomore from college, I got thrown out of the house by my father. Because I had already become a vegetarian, and it was Thanksgiving. And there was this turkey on the table, and I said, look at that dead bird! You know. Oh, God, he threw me out into the snow. I was in no coat. Not very skillful. Not recommended. Got to do better than that. So let's put the second half together with the first half. He is called somebody who can do what he wants, do what his yi says he should, fa yi neng xing, as the thoughts arise, able to do them. 成就庄严佛度故. The result of that is, the second half connects to the first half. The result of that is he can 成就, make happen, bring about 庄严佛度. This is a huge, huge power phrase in the Mahayana. We remember during the summer I had the opportunity to go to Nassau, the Bahamas. And the event in Nassau was a discussion of Buddhist cosmology, comparative cosmologies with Jewish, traditional Jewish views, with Hindu views, and with the views of an astrophysicist. So modern science, ancient Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism. And the big harvest, the big result, the prize that I got from that trip was seeing these four words as they are. We've been saying adorn Buddha lands, which is nonsense to anybody. I mean, just on the face of it, adorn a Buddha land. Is that interior decorating? How do you adorn a Buddha land? Get a coat of paint and, do you use the color scheme pink, or how do you do it? It's like you don't adorn a Buddha land. What you do is you create a world. This is creation, right? 庄严 here doesn't mean make pretty. It means you build a world. And we have stories of how the Pure Land, the Western Pure Land of Amitabha, is that. It's a man, in this case, who was a Buddhist monk, who was a cultivator, who said, all of the good stuff that comes from the work that I do, I give to the future. And I'm going to make a world where nothing dies at all. Nothing gets old at all. No one, no body, nobody's sick in this world that I'm going to make. That's what I'm doing with my merit and virtue. So that's what it means when it says 成就庄严佛度故. And where does that idea come from? His mind. So we got, stop right there. Think of that. Tonight, when we're done, we're going to go, may every living being, right? We're going to do our transference of merit, our dedication of merit. And that's the outer ritual of what's supposed to be an inner process. And the inner process is giving away the good stuff that comes from being here tonight. Saturday night, Berkeley, California, December 28th. What are you doing with your Saturday night? Came and sat on the floor in this monastery, or joined outside your computer, wherever you're watching from online, and listen to this ancient text, this old Buddhist sutra. The ancients would say that's good. That's a good thing to do. Because this is the Buddha's wisdom, directly, not filtered through anything. These are the words. It's filtered through translation. The Buddha didn't speak Chinese. Much less did the Buddha speak English. But the meaning is not lost very far. So we don't have to worry, is this really what the Buddha said? Pretty clearly, this is what the Buddha said. Historically, it's 2,500 years old, but we know the story. We know the road this text took to get here in English. So, to sit here together, respectfully, to open it up and look at it in 2 languages, 3 languages if you speak Vietnamese. And if you have Sanskrit at your fingertips, you can add a fourth language. That's a good thing. They would say there's merit, there's goodness in this, in letting the Buddha's wisdom go in our ears, go in our eyes, go in our mouths, process it. That's a good thing. So the results of that is something you can share, says the tradition. You can give it away. It's not just nothing. It's a good feeling. It's a sense of calmness, of coolness, of lightness, of making connections. Sometimes you just think, that's an insight. I've felt that, but I've never seen it that way before. Oh, wonderful. Right? All of that you can give away. So, when we transfer the merit, we give it away. Question is, how do you give it away? What do you do? And the answer to that question is called transference, dedication. Parinamana in Sanskrit, carrying it over, taking it across. So, how do you do it? Any way you want. The point is to do it. And simply by being here, by joining in, that merit arrives. It's not small. How hard it is to get folks to come in and listen to a sutra lecture. So, because we're here, we can do that transference. That bhikshu said, okay, I'm taking all that merit and I want to make a pure land. I want to zhangyan fo jingdu. I want to make a pure place where there's no suffering. What do you want to do with your merit? It's up to you. So that's it. I want to create a world. And in that world, there will be peace and harmony. There will be no chain reactions that make a weapon. There will be no hammer striking a cap that sends a spark into gunpowder that propels a lead bullet down a rifled barrel into somebody's body. Won't be. So, it's up to you. It's up to us. What do you want to do with your merit? Create a Buddha land. Why not? So, that's what he did. And 为发意能行者成就庄严佛度故. He is able to create this world because why? He can do what he thinks of. He can practice what he preaches. She can accomplish her intention without wavering, without forgetting it. Transferring one time is good. Transferring time after time, that's hard because it's easy to forget. Okay? 愿以此功德庄严佛净土. Aha. Right? That's what we say in the Chinese. May I transfer all of this merit and virtue. I want to. I want to use this merit and virtue to create a world. Creation. It's a creation story. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was good, depending on how you... The Word was with God, and on the first day, on the second day, and on the seventh day, that's a creation story. But the Buddhist creation story happens in thought after thought after thought as you transfer. That's what you're doing. How many of us, when that opportunity arises, just kind of go, yeah, transfer, yeah, I did it. Right? Well, most of us, if you even think of that. But to actually move into that and do it intentionally with purpose, that's what the sutra wants us to do, to actually do it. Remember what you did. Make your vows. Share it. Give it all away. Because why? We are also living beings and we get a share. We don't lose out if we give it away. You give it away universally. So, that's an idea. Now, sometimes we want to give our merit in a more personal way. It doesn't always have to be to adorn a pure land, to make a universe or a world. Sometimes you want to transfer the merit in a different way. For example, I heard on AP that in South Sudan, I don't know if people are paying attention, there's another regional war in eastern Africa. In the South Sudan, it's a tribal war. It's become ethnic. And because of political differences, 24,000 young men that belong to one tribe are marching on the capital city of South Sudan to overthrow the other tribe that's currently in power. And some person went back to the tribal region and inflamed all the youth, and they have heavy weapons, and they're marching towards the capital, Juba, or something like that, the name of the capital. War is beginning. Going to happen. So how about that? We're on the brink. Supposed to have arrived today, but there's so little press coverage there that fresh war starting up with heavy weapons. And there you go. Wouldn't it be nice to transfer merit to stop that? What about the old people in the way? What about the children in the way? What about the women in the way who guaranteed are not combatants unless they're forced into it? It's a testosterone thing, and it's what humans do. Imagine if we could transfer merit to make that the lives that we could save. So, just to say. Okay, going to move on. Moving forward, here we go. Next one. 名为亲修种种善业者，能具足相好故. All right. He is called one who diligently cultivates all kinds of good karma because he can make perfect the fine marks and characteristics. This idea takes a long time to explain. Why? Hidden in this single line is profound Mahayana teaching that is kind of unique, I think, in the whole scope of Buddhist practice, which is what? What is the result of good karma? If you vow to make it this way, the result of good karma is a Buddha's body. But the Buddha's body is not just one kind. The Buddha has 3 bodies when it's perfect. When you become a Buddha, you have 3 bodies, not just one, but 3. And the second of those bodies is called the reward body, the retribution body, the result body, you could say, Sambhogakaya. And what you have with that is the finest, most handsome human form anybody's ever seen. Think about all the beautiful, muscular, handsome bodies that you've seen. The Buddha's body is even better, even better. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Even better, right? Wow. Oh, do you ever see Bruce Lee with his shirt off? Always, right? Always see Bruce Lee with a shirt. Never keeps a shirt on, right? As soon as he fights, off goes the shirt, you know. Oh, Bruce Lee was incredibly muscular. What a specimen, right? Oh my goodness. So the Buddha's body, I know it's hard to believe, but even finer than Bruce Lee, right? Oh, you see, and all these strange, you know, the long earlobes and the curly hair, you know, all those 32 hallmarks and the 80 subtle features come from what? Good karma, shan ye. When you create good deeds, it shows. But it has to be a lot of good deeds. And those 30 hallmarks, the 相好, what is it? 具足能具足相好故. I won't go through them. There's a list, and you can look it up in your Buddhist dictionary. But those hallmarks make you spectacularly attractive. So much so that many people describe seeing the Buddha as light. Just light. They don't remember anything else. Because why? Think about it. Think about it. Why do we look good in the mirror to us? When you look in the mirror, why do you look good? Often it doesn't have much to do with the appearance. It's how you feel about the way you look. Right? If that were not true, then eating disorders wouldn't exist. Right? Now, this is not a joke. Bulimia and all of the eating disorders that are afflicting so many young women are perception. They have very little to do with the actual size and shape of the body. And it will kill you. That one thought, I can't eat this because something horrible will happen. Right? It's often not even, I'll get fat. It's something else. I won't look the way I'm supposed to. Young women, in particular, young men not so much, right? But young women will starve themselves to death because of that thought, right? About appearance. It's amazing. How many women do you know who are dieting? The right answer would be, how many women do you know who are not dieting? Right? It's so painful, this pressure to look like somebody else's idea of how you're supposed to look, that people go on this eternal diet where they can't eat, or if they eat, they can't enjoy it. That is a social disease. And talk about the ability to withstand pressure from outside, boy, that is huge, huge. Guys maybe don't know, but I hear a lot from both sides about the effect of socially determined appearance that has nothing to do with health, reality, clothing, wardrobe, fashion. It has to do with fear of losing approval, fear of not being loved. What is it that makes women feel like they cannot eat? Starve before you'll swallow that bite, right? Oh my goodness. So, anyway, there we are. Here's the Buddha who says appearance comes from behavior. How about that? Where, see the connection here? The gu at the end. 能具足相好故. Because, right, makes perfect the 相好, the 30 hallmarks and the 80 subtle characteristics of this incredibly beautiful, attractive, handsome, perfect human form. Gu, because why? Diligently cultivates all kinds of good karma. Want to be beautiful? Do good deeds. How about that? That's so interesting, isn't it? So why? Direct connection. Physical appearance results from shan, good deeds. What would good deeds be? Well, there's a tricky Buddhist answer, which is don't do bad. Don't do evil deeds. Oh, come on, help me out here, you know. So what does that mean? Well, start with the 5 big ones. If we want to make that real in my own life, then killing to the point where I wish good on people that I would wish evil on, I don't do it, that's good karma. So avoiding thoughts of drop dead, you creep, right? If it's your brother, if it's your spouse, if it's your father, if it's your neighbor, landlord, boss, right? If you can say, no, you deserve to live. I just want to stay away from you. You know. Good karma. You didn't hate them, right? What does a thought of hate look like when it manifests in your appearance? Oh, ugly. Ugly. Show me a pretty thought of hate. Much more powerful than any diet you could ever go on is to say, I ain't going to hate no more. This is a hate-free zone between my ears or wherever your heart is, right? Not going to do it. I'm going on a beauty regime, a 30-day beauty diet. I'm going to diet hate. Imagine. What's on my plate? No hate. No hate on my plate. So good to taste, right? All right. The result will be radiance, light, beauty. There you go. Right? That's what this says. You want to wind up with the 32 hallmarks and this incredible, beautiful body that the Buddha has? Start with good karma. So that's one, is no killing to the point that you don't hate or think a bad thought at anybody. Wow, that is radical. That's deep and hard. Why? What about the genre of Hollywood films called action films? We are swimming in this water of hatred so deeply that we don't even notice. On an airplane, watching the latest Jason Statham action film, right? He's just mowing them down. Gratuitous. You know, and of course every shot kills, right? He never misses, right? Just the body count in that movie is like, good Lord. And we just go, yeah, oh, he's cool. No, he's a murderer, you know. And we just nod. Rambo. You know, my God. And we don't notice. We call it action films. You know what it is? It's bad karma. You bet. Right? And he's a good guy, so we discount it. Bad guys deserved it. Ask the bad guy and his mom. Show me a bad guy that doesn't have a mom that misses him. So, complicated. So, what does it say? It says, good karma results in beauty, handsome, attractive. What a radical idea. And there's action, but the action is preceded by a thought. And we are the Chan school. Master Hua teaches us about the 6 guidelines. If we can avoid fighting, that's a thought. And that thought, when allowed to grow, leads to behavior. So good karma is actually the thought and the behavior. So if we can make our heart, our mind, our brain, our seat of action a hate-free zone, beauty results. You could move on through the other ones. Another good action, no stealing. These are the basics, right? No stealing, that's the second broken precept, is theft. How does that translate at the seed stage? Is greed. Saying, I want mine and I want yours too. I want mine and I want more. Mine and as much as I can grab. Right? Pin it down. We don't do politics here, right? But if you want to see the time when this great country of ours started to glorify greed, it was Ronald Reagan. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. He was our governor. He sent black helicopters over the UC Berkeley campus to tear gas peaceful protesters. He did. Unprovoked. Never mind. We don't do that. But that was a big cultural turn in the 80s when greed became celebrated. As much as you could grab. Well, the Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad and all of the wise men of the past said, greed is poisonous here. The damaging effect of greed happens right here. First, 毒, 三毒, 贪. Greed is the first of the three poisons. And when we let it flow in our body, beauty is not the result. Right? Beauty is not the result of greed. There is something profoundly beautiful, which is what? Generosity. Generosity. You can feel it when somebody has a generous heart. Oh my. Yeah. So, I won't go through the rest because we're going to run out of time. But you get the point. What does it mean when it says, 名为勤修种种善业者，能具足相好故? He's called one who works hard at cultivating all kinds of good karma because he can make perfect those hallmarks and characteristics. She can perfect them, cultivate them to the ultimate point. It means that the mind, which is the seat of that behavior, is a beautiful place. And from the Buddhist point of view, beauty and ugly has to do with yielding instead of killing and anger, fighting, generosity instead of greed and craving, trust, fidelity instead of lust, honesty instead of its opposite, mendacity, lying, and wisdom instead of intoxication. Those are the basic five. And they correspond to our 6 guidelines. 玄公上人他说他自己最宝贵的一个法门就是所谓6大宗旨，就是这个道理。什么叫6大宗旨？不争，让而不争，只是参与不杀生。第一个动作就是一个念头，不争，让而不争，那是第一6大宗旨。第二呢，就是不谈，不谈是一个念头，你怎么样度他呢？布施，你多做布施而不贪，那就不会偷盗。所以那个5戒呢，就自己吃自己了。然后第3是什么呢？不求，不争，不谈，不求。怎么样不求法呢？就说知足，知足常乐，能忍自安。这样子呢，能知足，自己的妻子、自己的先生已经够了，不需要求另外一个外遇呢。所以呢，不饮，就自己吃自己了。第4呢，就说不自私，不自利，不争，不贪，不求。不自私、不自利是一对。那么不自利、不自私，就说不会打妄语。怎么样不自私呢？大公无私，大公无私，就说我不是单单这个单位，我跟一切众生都有最密切的关系了，所以呢，能不自私，就不会打妄语。第5呢，就不自利，不自利呢，就说利人，分享一切。这样子呢，不会喝酒，不会抽烟，抽那个大麻，不会吸毒所以呢，不争，不贪，不求，不自私，不自利。最后呢，不打妄语，因为那是最容易犯的。6大宗旨，宣化上人说，这个法呢是最妙的，就是成佛最直截了当的道路。好了，所以呢，就跟这个 这一句呢有密切的关系了。All right, okay, just a little bit of Mandarin here. The last one that we did was 名为清修习故 I'm sorry, 名为常清修习故，求庄严佛身与义故。He is called one who always diligently practices because he seeks to adorn the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. Same idea as the one we just looked at. He's always practicing hard because he wants to create the behavior, the appearance, and the mentality of a Buddha. And if he diligently cultivates, he will. There you go. This is a bit of an awkward place to stop because we're not at a specific juncture of our text, but these are so rich and so deep that it's hard to speed through them. These are so powerful. There's so much juice in this text. See what I mean? Is that philosophy? Are we looking at ethics and stuff? Yeah, in a way, but it's more like gulp. Is that what the sutra is saying? Boy, this is kind of, well, I'm not so sure I want to hear all this because it's kind of uncomfortable to think that I've strayed so far from the Bodhisattva path. Well, on the other hand, it hurts good. So, and it always comes with this gentleness of, look at the Bodhisattva and, boy, what else am I doing? I mean, if I'm not thinking about how to improve my life. All right. The reason we're stopping a little early is there's lots to say, and I'm going to, at 9 o'clock, we're going to shut off the webcast. We've been webcasting this out to the world, and I'm delighted that the folks who are joining us are doing so. I have something special tonight related to the announcement that I made last week about the movie called One Mind, 一心. The filmmaker, Ted Berger, made a movie about Jiangxi Sheng, Yunjushan Zhenru Si, True Suchness Monastery on Cloud-Dwelling Mountain in Jiangxi Province, in China. Ted took his camera into the monastery where our grand teacher, our teacher's dharma teacher, Master Xu Yun, spent the last few years of his life and entered nirvana at age 120 years old at Zhenru Si. So it's still a powerfully, incredibly nifty Chan monastery, and it's everybody's vision of what a Chan monastery ought to be. And it's up there on Yunjushan. So Ted took his camera and spent months living with the monks and got to film everything. So that movie, Yi Xin, One Mind, is now waiting to be edited because he ran out of money. And if he doesn't get some funding, he's got to go to work. He's a one-man studio. He's an indie filmmaker, independent guy. So he has a what's called an Indiegogo campaign, and if you want to find out more about it and maybe contribute, there are flyers out in the hall. Meanwhile, Ted also made a movie called Amongst White Clouds that was released 3 or 4 years ago and got some traction. People enjoyed it. Because we are supporting his work, because telling the story of Zhenru Si is telling our story, only the Chinese version. Ted allowed us tonight to look at another one of his short films called Jie, Precepts. He calls it Vows. And it's a 38-minute short. And I've got it, and I want to show it to you. Free of charge. You need not please the monk or have any further display of obedience, or just give me your firstborn male child and I'll be happy. So it's okay. No, it's free, and it's 38 minutes, which is going to take you past our 9:30 ending time. But we'll see how it goes. I think we don't have to probably see the whole thing. It's not like there's a plot and you have to see it to know how it comes out. Does everybody get the precepts? Guaranteed they all do. But I want you to get a flavor of this incredible footage of the real Chan Monastery at the top of this misty mountain where Master Shuyan lived. And it's footage taken at Zhenrusi of the monks getting the precepts and ordination at Zhenrusi. And the monks speak, they talk about their experiences, what brought them to leave home, and all like that. So that's what we're going to do. Meanwhile, I also have some photographs of my visit home to Toledo earlier this week. And it's mostly pictures of kitty cats. There's not, we have a really cute cat at my mother's house. And she just got a 9-month-old, 3-color tortoiseshell tabby cat. And it's, it's like, aw, kitty videos. You got lots of them on YouTube. So I'm not going to subject you to more kitty videos. But that's to say I've got those pictures. If anybody wants to see them, Meanwhile, I thought somebody was telling me about they were reviewing. It was interesting. At the end of the year, there are all these lists, and somebody came up with Bob Dylan's 10 best protest songs. Nobody's excited about those. I'm excited about those. We did our Music That Woke the World concerts years ago, where the other baby boomers like me got together and sang the songs that moved us back in the 60s and 70s. And a lot of young people who had the great misfortune to not be born in the 60s and 70s, sorry, said, those are great songs. Man, where have those been? And this is one of them. So a lot of the protest songs come from the sense of outrage that people don't live the way people don't practice what they preach. You say one thing and do something else. And the official word for that is hypocrisy. And the protest songs protested hypocrisy, among other things. So Bob Dylan was this poet who was able to put this outrage into song form. And yet these songs are also hopeful. There's a sense of we can make it different. And the Buddha Dharma fits there. It says, delusion is thinking that it's any different without you making it different. That if you see things truly, then it's a different world entirely. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, and you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. There's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will be later to win. For the times they are a-changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he who has called. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls. For the times they are a-changing. Mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. That old road is rapidly fading. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand. For the times they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. A slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be the last. For the times they are a-changing. How about that? I shouldn't sing that one. I think I better stop while I'm ahead. There's, here, get a little more cheerful. Bob Dylan can be very prophetic. Feels like an Old Testament prophet, but there's a poetry and an insight that is unmistakable. Sounds like the Tao working itself out. Okay, we need to now transfer the merit, and let's do it. If you have a songbook, please take this device and turn it to the last page right here. And use your heart, use your mind that is connected to other people's minds and hearts, and send out a wish. However you want that merit to grow, if you want to adorn a Buddha land, if you want to create a paradise, create a world, it's up to you. It's your merit. So please, the only thing to avoid would be not transferring. Of course, that's okay too. You keep it yourself. But when you share it, it doesn't shrink. In fact, it grows. Transfer to the South Sudan that the White Army does not destroy itself and other people's bodies for some politician's greater gain. a wish that the skies above the United States of America would yield some rain. Just enough, not too much. No floods, but we sure could use some water here in California. However you want to dedicate that merit, it's yours to share. May the rains be seasonal. May all beings be at ease and peaceful. May the vows of Amitabha turn our hearts into a pure land. However you would like your merit to go, please do make that wish. Here we go. It's on the page 92, page 92 in your song. Our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Nope. Happy New Year, everybody. Well, thank you, yeah, right. And you too? Right, welcome to Australia. I'm not there yet. Well, but you will be soon. Yeah, well, good. How are you? I'm hoping for water, just like the rest of us. Because I'm a water serpent, you know, a sea serpent. I depend on water, so do you. So, you know, don't waste it. Right, okay, thank you very much. Do you have anything pleasant to say? Not like scolding? Yes, welcome to Australia. We're waiting for you. They sent me here to welcome you, make sure that you show up. Get on the airplane after all. You'll all let him go, won't you? Right? Nobody wants to, like, keep him here, you know, because we need him over there too. So, yeah, you know, if you get some water, you can send it over to Australia because we need water over there too. It's dry, mighty dry. And if it's not dry, it's flooding. So, you know, it's just all messed up. And I'll have to say that we sea serpents didn't do it. So look in the mirror, y'all. That's a southern phrase. Well, southern Australia, you know, so you're right. Okay, so just to say that appreciate you letting him go. And he'll be back. He'll be back. And he'll come back looking fatter because we feed him pretty well over there. And you have lots of pictures of koalas and the cute things. And so just, you know, just hang tight in there. Meanwhile, I wanted to announce that the sutra lectures will be handed by these capable monks in the front and in the back, including the one in the brown sitting back there.
trying to escape. Don't let him go. He's packing up. He's not done yet. Don't leave yet. Right. So, you know, and the nuns are coming, and Jin Fan, the monk, is coming. So these are good sutra lectures, talented, qualified, and we expect you to be here in your seat on time. And we're going to take notice. They're going to take roll. So if you're not there, the camera's going to be on your empty seat. They'll say, oh, where was she? Where's Alice? Where's Alice? Alice isn't there. Oh. That's not fair. She's probably with her family. Well, you know, that's an excuse. If you got an excuse, no problem. But we'll notice, we're taking roll. You're kidding about that part. Well, you know, but want to make them sweat just a little bit, so they'll be here to listen to the sutra. Good stuff, yeah. Well, did you listen to the sutra? Well, not very well, because that's why I'm still a sea serpent, you know. If I listened, I'd be a Buddha. There we go, good. Little honesty never hurt. Thank you very much. So anyway, so we'll see you, and the monk might appear at the end of the sutra lecture with a few words or a new song. We have this VC software, courtesy of the gentleman here behind the podium, and we're going to see if the monk can't appear to sing a little bit, and maybe I might show up and tell you some stories from down under. All right, all's good, good eye, and good on you all, mate, and you know, anything that sounds Australian like that. Right, see you then. Good job. I hope you can get enough water to float you and your family. That's why it's a Happy New Year all around. Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. And so what we're going to do, I'm off to Australia in 2 days. And as I say, as he said, the sutra lectures are going to be handled by our vigorous staff of monks and nuns, and please do come and support. And if things work out, we have a new method whereby I might be able to join in for a few minutes at the end of the lecture. We'll see. Depends on lots of ducks lining up in the right order, and I might be able to just pop in at the end. We'll see, with a new song and or a new bunch of stories. So, all right, there is a promise there that it might happen. So, if it doesn't, it'll be because of bandwidth, not because of lack of willpower. So, that's the latest, and I think we're ready to hook up our technology and take ourselves to Zhenru Si, to True Suchness Monastery on Cloud Dwelling Mountain in Jiangxi Province in China, and take a look at a world of Buddhism that has not changed since the Tang Dynasty. 我们现在到江西省云居山真如寺，那个佛教世界呢，从唐朝那个时候到今天一点都没改啊。等一等，我们看看。Let's take a look. Cross your fingers, hope it all works.